Welcome to Stories of HFY, your ultimate destination for thrills, adventure, and entertainment. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell to join us on this epic journey. Let's create unforgettable moments together. Caleb Trent pressed his back against the damp, metallic wall of the alley, his chest heaving as he struggled to steady his breath. The chaotic symphony of the alien market outside thrummed in his ears, the guttural growls of traders haggling, the metallic clang of machinery, and the occasional burst of alien laughter that sounded more like screeching. Neon lights flickered and danced across the slick ground, casting kaleidoscopic shadows that seemed to mock his desperation. He clutched the vial tighter, the glowing red liquid inside pulsing faintly, almost alive. To most beings in the galaxy, it was just a resource. To Caleb, it was the most dangerous thing he'd ever held. Human blood. Not just any blood, a rare variant infused with a power no one fully understood yet, but that every alien cartel, government, and mercenary seemed willing to kill for. Footsteps echoed in the distance, heavy and deliberate. Caleb's heart jumped. He peeked around the corner, catching sight of his pursuer, Scar. The reptilian bounty hunter's towering frame loomed like a shadow against the neon backdrop. His amber eyes glinted with predatory intent, and his sharp claws scraped audibly against the metal floor as he moved. He sniffed the air, a low growl escaping his throat. "You can't hide, human," Scar's gravelly voice reverberated through the alleyway. "I can smell your fear. And that precious cargo you're carrying?" Caleb's pulse quickened. The walls felt like they were closing in. His mind raced, calculating his options. The anti-grav board strapped to his back offered an escape route, but it would make him a conspicuous target. The vial's faint glow seemed brighter, almost accusing. Why had he agreed to take it? He'd promised to deliver it to the Resistance, to the last human sanctuary, but now it felt like a death sentence. Scar's shadow grew closer. Caleb didn't wait. With a burst of adrenaline, he darted out of the alley and into the chaotic market. The sudden movement drew attention, and alien eyes turned his way. Some were curious, others calculating. A few even began shouting in languages Caleb couldn't understand. "Stop him!" Scar roared from behind, his voice cutting through the cacophony like a blade. "He's carrying human blood." That was all it took. The market erupted into chaos. Traders abandoned their stalls, chasing after Caleb. Buyers drew concealed weapons. Even those who had seemed disinterested moments ago now sprinted after him with manic determination. The value of human blood was too great to ignore. Caleb zigzagged through the crowd, his boots slipping on the slick ground. He vaulted over a stall filled with glowing crystals, narrowly avoiding a clawed hand that swiped at him. A plasma bolt sizzled past his ear, hitting a nearby vendor's cart and exploding it into shards of metal and glass. He skidded around a corner, fumbling with the straps of his anti-grav board. His fingers trembled as he activated it, the device humming to life. He jumped onto it, and with a lurch, it propelled him forward, skimming just above the ground. The wind whipped past his face as he accelerated, weaving through the labyrinthine market streets. But Scar was relentless. The bounty hunter's massive strides closed the distance, his claws digging into the ground with each leap. He drew a weapon, a jagged alien blade that crackled with energy, and hurled it. Caleb ducked just in time. The blade whizzed past, embedding itself in a nearby wall with a thunderous crack. "You can't outrun me, human," Scar snarled, his voice carrying over the chaos. Caleb's mind raced. He needed to lose his pursuers, but the narrow streets offered little room for maneuvering. Ahead he spotted an intersection. To the left, a crowded thoroughfare teeming with aliens. To the right, a dark, abandoned corridor. He made his choice and veered right. The corridor was quieter, but it was a dead end. Caleb cursed under his breath. He dismounted the anti-grav board and turned to face the entrance, his back against the wall. He drew his weapon, a small but reliable energy pistol, and aimed it at the opening. Moments later, Scar appeared, flanked by two alien mercenaries. The bounty hunter grinned, his teeth gleaming in the dim light. "Cornered at last," he said, stepping closer. "You should have handed it over when you had the chance." Caleb tightened his grip on the pistol. I can't let you have it. You know what they'll do with it? Scar chuckled, a deep, guttural sound. What they'll do doesn't matter. What matters is that I get paid. The mercenaries raised their weapons, aiming them at Caleb. He fired first, the energy bolt striking one of them in the chest and sending him sprawling. The second mercenary returned fire, the bolt narrowly missing Caleb as he dove to the side. Scar lunged, his claws swiping at Caleb. The human rolled away, barely avoiding the attack. He fired again, but Scar was too fast, his movements a blur. The bounty hunter closed the distance, grabbing Caleb by the collar and lifting him off the ground. You've caused me a lot of trouble, human, Scar growled, his amber eyes burning with fury. But it ends now. Before Scar could strike, a blinding flash of light filled the corridor. A shockwave knocked everyone off their feet. Caleb hit the ground hard, his vision swimming. When he managed to look up, he saw a figure standing at the entrance of the corridor. It was Nyx, her silhouette outlined by the flickering neon lights. The alien sympathizer's voice was calm but commanding. Let him go, Scar. This isn't your fight anymore. Scar growled but hesitated, his claws still poised to strike. Stay out of this, Nyx. The bounty's mine. Nyx stepped closer, her weapon glowing with a strange, otherworldly energy. You know who I work for. If you kill him, you'll answer to them. The tension hung thick in the air. Finally, with a snarl, Scar released Caleb, who collapsed to the ground, coughing. This isn't over, Scar spat, retreating with his remaining mercenary. Nyx extended a hand to Caleb. Come on, she said. We need to move before more of them show up. Caleb hesitated, then took her hand. As they disappeared into the shadows, the vial of human blood pulsed faintly in his pocket, its glow a reminder of the dangerous journey ahead. The dim, sterile glow of the medbay's lights buzzed faintly, casting elongated shadows on the walls. Caleb sat stiffly on the edge of the examination table, his hands gripping its edges so tightly his knuckles turned white. The vial of human blood lay on a nearby counter, securely encased in a protective shell, its faint red glow a haunting reminder of its importance. Across from him, NYX leaned against the wall, her arms crossed and her expression unreadable. Her usual confidence was marred by a faint trace of concern. They had made it to the Resistance's hidden outpost deep within the asteroid belt, but the weight of what they carried, and what it meant, pressed heavily on both of them. The medbay door hissed open, and Dr. Ilara stepped inside. Her presence commanded immediate attention. A towering human woman with streaks of silver in her hair and eyes sharp as laser fire, Ilara was known for her brilliance and unflinching resolve. But tonight, even she seemed burdened by something. Caleb, she began, her voice measured, I've run the analysis. And it's worse than I feared. The words hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. Caleb swallowed hard, his throat dry. Worse? How much worse can it get? We already know every cartel and merc is hunting this stuff. Dr. Ilara shook her head, her gaze shifting to the glowing vial. It's not just about the rarity of human blood anymore. This sample, it contains something extraordinary. Something no other known species has. A molecular anomaly that acts as a universal key, a catalyst that could unlock biological and technological advancements far beyond anything we've ever imagined. NYX's eyebrows furrowed. That sounds like a good thing. Isn't that what the Resistance has been fighting for? An edge against the syndicates and their monopoly? Ilara sighed, running a hand through her hair. In theory, yes. But the implications, they're terrifying. This anomaly isn't just a key, it's a weapon. In the wrong hands, it could be used to amplify destructive capabilities on an unimaginable scale. Entire planets could be brought to their knees. Caleb felt a chill run down his spine. He leaned forward, his voice low. Are you saying this blood, my blood, could destroy worlds? Dr. Ilara hesitated, then nodded. If weaponized, yes. But it could also save countless lives if used responsibly. That's the dilemma. Every major power in the galaxy wants it, and not all of them for noble reasons. NYX pushed off the wall, pacing the room with agitation. So what do we do? Hide it? Destroy it? Trade it for leverage? There's no scenario where this ends without someone getting hurt. Caleb's mind raced. The room seemed to close in on him, the weight of the revelation pressing down like a physical force. His blood wasn't just valuable, it was a galactic ticking time bomb. The Resistance needed it to fight back, but how could he trust anyone, even the Resistance, to wield something so dangerous? Before he could speak, a piercing alarm shattered the tension. Red lights flashed, and a voice crackled over the intercom. Alert! Unidentified ships approaching. Possible hostile forces. All personnel to defensive positions. NYX's hand instinctively went to her weapon. They found us, she muttered, her tone laced with both anger and fear. Dr. Ilara's expression darkened. They must have tracked the vial's energy signature. We don't have much time. Caleb jumped to his feet, adrenaline surging. What do? We can't let them take it. NYX nodded. We won't. But we need a plan, fast. Dr. Ilara grabbed the vial and secured it in a portable containment unit. We can't let them get their hands on this. Caleb, you're the only one who can keep it safe. You know what's at stake. Caleb stared at the containment unit, his mind a whirlwind of fear and doubt. He was just a courier, not a soldier or a hero. But now, the fate of entire civilizations rested in his hands. NYX placed a firm hand on his shoulder. We'll buy you time. Get to the escape pod docked in Bay 7. Head for the coordinates Ilara gives you. It's a Resistance safe house on a remote moon. You'll be safe there. And what about you? Caleb asked, his voice tight with emotion. NYX smirked, her usual confidence returning. Don't worry about us. We've handled worse. Just promise me you won't stop running until you're clear. The alarm blared louder, and the sound of distant explosions reverberated through the station. The enemy was getting closer. Dr. Ilara handed Caleb a small data chip. This contains everything you need to know about the anomaly and its potential uses. Guard it with your life. And if it comes to it, destroy it before they can take it. Caleb nodded, his heart pounding. He secured the containment unit and data chip, his mind already rehearsing his escape route. As he turned to leave, NYX called out to him. Hey, Caleb. He paused, glancing back at her. Stay alive. The galaxy's gonna need you. With that, he sprinted out of the medbay, weaving through the station's corridors as chaos erupted around him. The walls shook with each explosion, and the distant sounds of gunfire grew louder. He could hear the Resistance fighters shouting orders, their voices a mix of determination and desperation. Reaching Bay 7, Caleb found the escape pod prepped and waiting. He climbed inside, securing the containment unit and data chip before strapping himself in. His fingers hovered over the launch controls, hesitating for a brief moment. The station trembled violently, a deafening explosion rocking the structure. Caleb slammed his hand down on the controls, and the pod's engines roared to life. As it launched into the void of space, he looked back through the small viewport, watching as the station faded into the distance. The glowing vial sat securely beside him, its faint pulse a reminder of the immense responsibility he now bore. Caleb took a deep breath, steeling himself for the journey ahead. The galaxy's most valuable and dangerous substance was in his hands. And every force in the universe would be coming for it. The distant cries of Xintharks reached across the galaxy like whispers in a storm. Its people, once vibrant and thriving, now stared into the abyss of annihilation. The very essence of their world, a fragile equilibrium of nature, technology, and an ancient force known as the Luma Nexus, was crumbling under relentless pressures. A planetary crisis loomed, and the stakes could not have been higher. It began with the skies darkening unnaturally, an omen that stirred fear in the hearts of even the most steadfast Xintharans. The celestial harmonies of their twin moons faltered, casting uneven tides and sending ripples of unease through the planet's interconnected systems. Crops wilted in the fields, the mighty energy spires that powered their cities began to flicker, and wildlife, once harmonious with the rhythms of Xintharks, turned erratic and hostile. Among the chaos stood Lyra Vera, an astrophysicist who had spent her life studying the intricate patterns of the Luma Nexus. To her, the disturbances weren't merely natural occurrences, they were warnings. Signs that Xintharks was veering off its axis, both literally and metaphorically. She had a theory, one so bold it bordered on lunacy. The Nexus, the core of their world's life force, was being drained by an external force. And if it collapsed, the planet would follow. Lyra's research had drawn the attention of the Planetary Council, a group as divided as Xintharx itself. On one side, there were those who believed the Nexus was untouchable, a sacred entity that no mortal could comprehend, let alone meddle with. On the other, pragmatists argued for action, even if it meant risking the unknown. And then there were the conspiracists who whispered of an ancient enemy, the Drenvari, resurfacing to exact their revenge. The Nexus isn't just failing, Lyra argued during an emergency council session, her voice cutting through the rising din. It's being attacked. The patterns are too precise, too deliberate. If we don't act now, Xintharx will collapse into chaos. The council chamber erupted in debate. Lyra's closest ally, a technomancer named Kale Draith, stepped forward. "We have the means to investigate," he said, his mechanical augmentations whirring softly. "But we'll need every resource and the council's approval to execute the plan." That plan was as daring as it was dangerous. Journey to the heart of the Nexus, a place no one had ventured for millennia. Ancient texts described it as a realm of light and shadow, a convergence point of energy so intense that only the bravest, or most foolish, would dare to enter. Lyra believed it held the answers to the planet's plight. Preparations were swift yet meticulous. Lyra and Kale assembled a team of experts. Ven Trask, a former soldier with a knack for survival in hostile environments, Ira Solis, a bioengineer who could decipher the mysteries of Xintharx's failing ecosystems, and Lauren Quell, a historian fluent in the cryptic symbols that adorned ancient Nexus relics. Together they represented the planet's last, best hope. The journey to the Nexus was fraught with peril. As they ventured into the uncharted depths of Xintharx's wilderness, the team encountered landscapes twisted by the destabilizing forces. Forests writhed with mutated flora, rivers surged with volatile energy, and the air itself seemed alive with a dissonant hum. Each step closer to the Nexus brought new challenges, testing their resolve and unity. Midway through their journey, the team uncovered a chilling revelation. Hidden within a crumbling temple, they found an ancient artifact, a shard pulsing with a dark energy that resonated with the Nexus. Lauren's translations revealed its origin. The Drenvari, a race exiled eons ago for attempting to harness the Nexus's power. The artifact was proof that they had returned, and their ambitions were no less destructive than before. "They're using these shards to siphon the Nexus," Lyra deduced, her voice heavy with urgency. "If we can disrupt the network, we might restore balance." The team pressed on, carrying the shard as both a clue and a weapon. Their final approach to the Nexus was marked by a tempest of raw energy, a maelstrom that threatened to tear them apart. Kale's technomantic expertise proved invaluable, as he constructed a protective barrier that allowed them to push through the chaos. What awaited them at the Nexus defied comprehension. It was a place of blinding light and infinite shadow, where time and space seemed to blur. At its center stood a massive construct, a siphoning device of Drenvari design, pulsating with stolen energy. Surrounding it were the Drenvari themselves, spectral figures manipulating the device with cold precision. The battle that ensued was fierce and desperate. Ven's combat skills kept the Drenvari at bay, while Ira worked to neutralize the environmental hazards. Lyra and Kale focused on dismantling the siphoning device, using the shard as a key to reverse its effects. Every second was a struggle against overwhelming odds. In the end, it was Lyra's understanding of the Nexus that tipped the balance. By channeling its raw energy through the shard, she created a surge that overloaded the siphoning device, shattering it into fragments. The resulting explosion of light and sound was both terrifying and beautiful, a release of power that sent the Drenvari fleeing into the void. As the Nexus stabilized, the team felt a profound shift. The chaotic energy subsided, the skies cleared, and the planet seemed to breathe again. Xintharx was saved, but at a cost. The journey had left its mark on each of them, a reminder of the fragility of their world and the lengths they would go to protect it. The Council hailed them as heroes, but Lyra knew their work was far from over. The Drenvari might have been driven back, but the scars of their actions remained. Rebuilding Xintharx would take time, effort, and vigilance. Yet, in the face of such adversity, the planet had proven its resilience. "We've bought Xintharx a future," Lyra said as she gazed at the revitalized skies. "Now it's up to us to shape it." And so, the story of Xintharx's survival became legend, a testament to the courage and ingenuity of those who dared to defy the odds. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could shine as brightly as the twin moons that once again graced their heavens. The tension in the air was almost tangible, a heavy weight pressing down on those who dared to confront the encroaching darkness. Xintharx, a planet once heralded as a beacon of harmony, now stood on the brink of an unprecedented crisis. Whispers of unease grew louder, transforming into a chorus of fear as cracks began to appear in the delicate fabric of their existence. The catalyst for this turmoil had been subtle at first. Reports of strange anomalies trickled in, rivers reversing their flow, animals abandoning centuries-old migratory patterns, and the Nexus, the heart of the planet's lifeblood, pulsing erratically. What began as isolated incidents soon coalesced into an undeniable pattern of disruption. Yet, the true scope of the threat remained elusive, and with it came a rising tide of uncertainty. In the sprawling capital city of Luminaris, the Planetary Council convened behind closed doors. Normally a bastion of calculated diplomacy, the chamber had devolved into a battleground of clashing ideologies. At the center of the storm was the question that no one dared to voice aloud: could Xintharx survive this? "We cannot afford to wait any longer." Councillor Erin slammed her hand on the polished table, her voice reverberating through the chamber. "The Nexus instability grows by the day, and yet we debate as if we have the luxury of time." Her counterpart, Councillor Joran, leaned back with an air of practiced calm that only fanned the flames of her frustration. "Rash decisions will only hasten our downfall. We must understand the root cause before we act. While we deliberate, our people suffer." Erin shot back. "Entire regions are becoming uninhabitable. The time for understanding has passed. The time for action is now." Outside the council chambers, the unrest was palpable. Streets once filled with vibrant marketplaces and joyful gatherings were now lined with protesters demanding answers. Citizens from every corner of Xintharx, farmers, engineers, scholars, and artisans, voiced their fears and frustrations. Rumors spread like wildfire, each more dire than the last. Some spoke of ancient prophecies, others of sabotage by unseen enemies. Amid the chaos, a singular hope emerged. Someone needed to take charge, to lead them through the storm. In a secluded observatory on the outskirts of Luminaris, Lyra Vera pored over the latest data streams. The astrophysicist had long suspected that the Nexus instability was no mere anomaly. Her simulations painted a grim picture, a cascading failure that would ripple through every aspect of the planet's ecosystem. Yet, the root cause remained maddeningly out of reach. Each new variable only deepened the mystery. Kale Draith, her trusted technomancer ally, entered the observatory with a grim expression. "The energy spires in the southern quadrants have begun to fail," he reported, his voice tinged with exhaustion. "If this continues, we'll lose critical infrastructure within weeks." Lyra rubbed her temples, her mind racing to connect the dots. "We're missing something," she murmured. "The Nexus, it's responding to an external force. But what could be powerful enough to destabilize it on this scale?" Kale hesitated before speaking. "There are theories circulating. Some believe the Drenvari have returned." Lyra's eyes narrowed. The Drenvari were a name whispered in the darkest corners of Xintharx's history, an exiled race infamous for their attempts to dominate the Nexus. Their disappearance had been shrouded in mystery, but their legend persisted as a cautionary tale. "If they've returned, it would explain the precision of these disruptions," she said. "But we need proof." The proof came sooner than expected. A distress call from a remote research station on the planet's fringes sent shockwaves through the scientific community. When Lyra and Kale arrived to investigate, they found the station in ruins. Scorch marks and residual energy signatures pointed to advanced technology far beyond the capabilities of any known faction on Xintharx. Among the wreckage, they discovered a shard of crystalline material, pulsing faintly with an energy signature eerily similar to the Nexus. Aerosolis, a bioengineer summoned to analyze the shard, made a chilling observation. "This isn't just a piece of technology," she said. "It's alive. Or at least, it was designed to mimic organic processes. Whoever created this had a deep understanding of the Nexus structure." The implications were staggering. The shard's properties suggested not only a deliberate attempt to interfere with the Nexus but also an intimate knowledge of its workings. This was no random act of chaos, it was a calculated assault. Armed with this revelation, Lyra and her team presented their findings to the Council. The response was predictably divided. Skeptics dismissed the evidence as inconclusive, while others called for immediate military action. The debate raged on, but for Lyra, the path was clear. They had to confront the source of the threat, no matter the cost. The journey to uncover the truth tested their limits at every turn. Navigating treacherous landscapes distorted by the Nexus instability, the team encountered obstacles both natural and unnatural. Mutated wildlife, violent storms, and inexplicable phenomena challenged their every step. But the most harrowing challenge was the specter of doubt that hung over them. Could they really succeed where so many others had failed? As they delved deeper into the mystery, a pattern began to emerge. The shard's energy resonated with certain locations, leading them to a series of ancient sites long abandoned by Xinthox's ancestors. Each site contained fragments of a larger puzzle, hinting at a connection between the Drenvri and the Nexus. It became clear that their enemy was not merely attacking the Nexus but attempting to rewrite its very essence. The team's final discovery sent shockwaves through their ranks. Deep within a cavern beneath Xinthox's northern ice fields, they uncovered a Drenvri outpost preserved in pristine condition. Its central chamber housed a massive construct, a siphoning device designed to drain the Nexus energy. The implications were clear: the Drenvri's return was no accident. They had been planning this for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With time running out, Lyra and her team faced an impossible choice. Destroying the device would halt the immediate threat but risk further destabilizing the Nexus. Attempting to disable it without destruction could backfire catastrophically. The weight of the planet's future rested on their shoulders. "We didn't come this far to fail," Lyra said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Xinthox needs us. And we need to believe in each other." In that moment, the team's resolve crystallized. They would confront the challenge head-on, no matter the cost. The fate of their world demanded nothing less.